Yeah, so my name is Rob. I'm one of the senior product directors here. I'm going to talk in hopefully a nice segue from Shai's presentation on scaling what works. So personalization across channels using AI-driven content. Now, great to see so many of you out there, even some of the people that aren't in my team as well. So clearly you can't read the agenda very well. There's an excellent session going on next door, but we'll try our best. So I was going to say, having not seen the keynotes, you've all heard of this positionless marketing thing, but I think we're beyond that joke, right? You're aware of what positionless marketing is. This is what our analogy, we almost sort of make fun of this slide, right? Marketing like it's insert a date that is before 2026. This is the assembly line, okay? Idea, brief and handoff, content creation, QA compliance, launch and learn. But we should probably laugh a little bit more at this, because that's the ideal state. And actually, assembly lines kind of work, right? Cars get built, etc. What we frequently see is people reaching for the whisk. Okay, we might be stretching the analogy a little bit too far on the cake here. The Andon cord, I don't know if anyone has heard of this. This is something from the Toyota production line system. So this is effectively, imagine a physical production line. There are literal cords, or there were in the 1950s at least, where people were encouraged, if they saw a problem, to pull the cord and stop the production system. Okay, so it sounds a little bit counterintuitive. Everything stops, but from a total quality perspective, it's a good idea because things get fixed, and then we can move forward. So what is our Andon cord here? Well, often, our hypothesis is it's content. Okay, you've put all this effort into place. You've gone through all these steps, you've done all your briefings, you've got all your stuff out to the creative team. You're having to pull this cord because you can't move forwards. And why is that? Well, as Shai said, content has always been the bottleneck to scale. Lead times, weeks, days, months, years, okay? Lots and lots of multiple handoffs, manual work, rework, and it scales very linearly with a number of variations, often holding us back. And this is the very opposite of what we're looking at as the positionless marketer. But that's all changed, right? Starting with this guy. So I was actually surprised. I was looking at this. ChatGPT, which was built on GPT 3.5, has actually been around since the end of 2022. Right? So it's not new anymore. But the growth has been staggering. So ChatGPT reached 100 million users in 2 months. For context, the telephone took 75 years to reach 100 million users. So enormous scale. What also surprised me is the amount of time that my wife spends talking to Doug, as she calls her, Chat, which is a coincidence, because that's also the name of her yoga teacher, but we'll go no further on that one. So really, I think the big thing here is what they call capability overhang. Actually, if you think about all the capability that these AI tools have, which are expanding and growing on a daily basis, and actually, how big an impact has it really had on our lives? So my wife's relationship with the yoga teacher, for example. But more importantly, we're not really there yet. We're not really building on this stuff. But think about what the impact is on content creation specifically, and the economics of it. Effectively, in theory, and increasingly in practice, the marginal cost of that content production is going to zero. Shai's talk was called Content is Free. Didn't actually mention those words, but I'll remind you, listen to your content. It was on the slide. So anyone can be a content creator. What's stopping you? Well, anyone can now be a content creator, but why, like so many AI-driven content, is this so creepy? So we asked the question, is content really now free? Well, anyone could be a content creator, but creating quality, trusted content with real authenticity is still a challenge. And understanding which content works the best, works for which customers, still a challenge. Okay, so that's a big theme of what we're trying to do, help you ride that content revolution and equip the positionless marketer with the tools to have impact. So Shai just showed you this framework. This is how we're thinking about AI and the workflows in general across Optimove. And I'm going to put a content lens on it. So firstly, we've got creation. Okay, how do we enable the positionless marketer to fuel personalization at scale with AI-generated dynamic content? How do you create on-brand copy, imagery, campaigns, etc.? Then you've got assurance. Again, hark back to Shai's presentation. This is the bit we often don't spend enough time talking about, given you spend an awful lot of your time doing it. So how do we build trust with that content? How do we make sure it's accurate, it's aligned with your brand, it's optimized and works, and you can test at scale with automated QA workflows? Now, we haven't positioned this as a hierarchy, but if you think in a world where increasingly decisions are going to be made by, or content is going to be created by agents, work is going to be managed by agents, that's where decisioning really comes in. Now, that's a bit of a tick in the box for us. We've always been good at this stuff, okay? How do we make sure that the right message goes to the right customer at the right time? Now, we're beefing that up, and we've got some stuff to show you. But that's crucial in a world of sort of potential or theoretical abundant content, whether that's campaigns, imagery, etc. Decisioning is more important than ever. But that bit in the middle, that blob, that green blob, context. Okay, you hear that a lot in the AI world. You know, these AI agents are only as good as the context that they have. So what does that mean? Well, I think we're uniquely positioned in terms of that rich data set that we have, deep data, deep segmentation that we have in the Optimove world, which are increasing through easier access to data, etc. And we're going to infuse these different areas. You know, make sure that when you're creating something, it has the context of what you're trying to do. In the assurance space, it knows that you're trying to QA a certain type of campaign, and then it's deciding on that campaign correctly. So I think increasingly in the future, we're going to be thinking of Optimove as the context engine. Okay? It will be consisting of a bunch of different agents, all joined together with this rich sort of plane of context. So going through some of the new features that we have today. We've talked a lot about how generative AI and the hype there is about content production, which is great. But LLMs are really good at classifying and extracting metadata. So actually, it's a bit of a novel spin on it. What we're looking at initially is how do we use the LLM to judge what the content is, and break it down into its constituent parts. So we can take every template that you have across all channels, we analyze it, understand what the metadata is to help you understand what works. Content Advisor. Okay. So this is the bit about creating multi-brand content that you can trust, making sure that it aligns with your brand values, your tone of voice, your industry guidelines, compliance, things like that. And we're looking at a concept called LLM as a judge. Okay? Shai mentioned this a little bit, but essentially it's pitting agents against each other in a way. You know, and actually, one of the great things about this use of technology is even if you're not writing a single word using AI, you can take advantage of this. So what this is going to do, score your content, give you suggestions for improved tone, impact, style, etc., give you some no-nos, things to watch out for in particular areas, and help you to come up with a better content that fits your brand as much as it can. Now, we are going to be introducing the QA Center, which builds on top of cross-channel preview, send tests, etc. And there, we're looking to take an agentic-first approach. So here, we're going to be trying to automate those tasks that you find really annoying, all right? That you have to go and do link checking, you have to go and check language, and often that involves handoffs and things like that. So we're trying to make sure that we can take some of the grunt work away from you, elevating you to do the more interesting stuff. And that might be the creativity that Penny talked about. Okay, so when it comes to content creation, what we're looking at now, to start with, is prompt to template. Okay? Anyone can now be a content creator. But as we said before, without context, without all of those guardrails, etc., it's kind of pointless. We want you to be able to be the best version of your content team. Okay? And one of the great, the brilliant things about humans at the moment is they understand that context, they bake that in. So let's bring that into the way that it creates content for you. Our first version of this, which I'll show you in a minute, is duplicate with AI. So we recognize, one of the most clicked buttons in the system is duplicate template. Now, you don't want to start from scratch every time. You want to start from something that works. You've built most of the stuff in there, and you're going to build on that with your new message. Okay, so we're skipping all that drudge. We're helping you to build something quicker and get it out the door. Now, I'm not going to dwell too much on data connections and Liquid. Probably talk for hours about that. There's a good session with Iggy later today, I think, on that in particular. It's not AI, but it's one of the best ways that we've seen of scaling content creation. Okay, so it's literally the ability to take that to the next level, to whether that's cross-language, different sports, different interests, different segments, many different ways that we can use that to personalize content. Okay, so we're going to go over to the demo now. Hopefully you can see that. Right, so in this demo environment, I'm going to show you initially the prompt to template workflows. So I'm going to start from a template that we've got here and clicking duplicate with AI. Okay, so normally you would just duplicate, you'd be manually then changing the things that you need to set up. Okay, so this is a football special email with some basic stuff around the matches at this weekend. I actually hate rugby, so I don't know why I'm choosing this as an example, but it's the Six Nations at the weekend. So I would say something like, I want to change this to focus on the Six Nations this weekend. Highlight the France-England game, and we have a £50 match bet offer. Okay, it's natural language, so I don't have to get it perfect. What it's going to do in the background is go away and then do that variation for you, and we'll come back in a second to see the results. So we talked a little bit about content intelligence, and we've dotted this around the system in numerous different places. You can start from the dashboard. You can see some high-level things about what your affinity is for your customers to certain product categories, promotion types, tone of voice. Those three things we've sort of called the canonical bits of metadata that we have around content intelligence. So you'll see them in numerous places, and I'll show you a couple of them now. We have the content intelligence report. Unlike Shai, I am braving a live demo, so you'll have to give me some slack on this one. But here, this breaks it down into more detail. So along those canonical bits, you can see in this nice word cloud what the different levels of interest in based on the templates that you have. You can break down that based on campaign performance, so response rates, etc. You can see what's the top performing category in promotion types, tone of voice, etc. And going beyond those canonical tags as well, we've got tens, hundreds of different tags. You might struggle to read some of those, but based on the vertical, we can break down that template into numerous different items, which is obviously very useful in terms of understanding what's going on. Now, we can see that in Customer 360, as you've seen on the slides before. But crucially, you can also, this is now exposed as information for segmentation. Okay, so you can start to use these content attributes. You go in here, you can add, game category, promotion type, tone of voice as segments. Build those into your target groups as you know and love. So hopefully, you can see how this content intelligence, like context, seeps through all these different things, allows you to create and use it throughout the life cycle. Okay, we're going to go over to the brand guidelines piece. It's coming soon, so I'm going to show you something here about how it will look. So in this example, we're asking you, again, guidelines are important for you to set. So you will give us the information. We'll give you a helper with AI to pull some of this information out. But you will tell us about your mission statement, your brand values, all this stuff you've probably got tucked away in a book somewhere that you give to the new employee who joins the company. Right, your tone of voice, your brand personality. And we're going to give you the opportunity to add in features that are really critical. So it might be some compliance stuff for particular markets. You can't offer bonusing, or you have to have specific language usage in different areas. And then we're going to get into things like sort of a brand book, brand colors, brand assets, typography, the main stuff that you're there. So you're setting your guardrails, and you're allowing the system to know what it should be doing. Now, what we can then do in a practical example here, I've got a lottery email here, is I can run the content advisor. Okay, so I can then say, go and analyze. You've told me what your brand guidelines are. Maybe I didn't create this through AI. Maybe I did, etc. And it's going to score that against those things. And it's also going to give me suggestions. So it might say, look, this CT8 button, rather than play now, pick something that's a little bit more appropriate. So I can insert that. It updates my template. And therefore, it's reinforcing my brand values. Okay, I'm going to skip back to the template over here. Don't worry, it didn't take that long. I was just killing time, but It takes a few seconds to come through. So what it's done in this iteration, it's got some nice stuff about the text. So it's obviously saving you some time in terms of pulling out that information. We're going to be hooking this up very soon to actual sporting calendars and things like that. So you can say, go and get me the Premier League fixtures for the weekend and so on and so forth. At the moment, we've got sort of placeholder images. Again, this is moving at such a pace that we're going to be able to produce you some templated images and things like that. Now, we're very much in the state of the technology. It's kind of that 80% stage, right? We're going to help you to get to the point where this is really useful, and incrementally you'll be seeing the benefits of taking that stuff straight out of the box. Okay, so back to the slides. Okay, so now, in the context, as I said, imagine the world which we're starting to become part of, where creating quality on-brand content is easy. Okay, we break that bottleneck. So we can also scale that content through Liquid and data connections. So we're now starting to move away from the world of one template, one message. Okay, that's really important. That's been the paradigm for a long, long time. So that's really going to change. The only way that we can accommodate that is through content decisioning. Okay, we've gone beyond the point where this is possible manually. You don't want to get into automation hell, et cetera, and we'll see a bit of that in a second. So, as I said, we're pretty well positioned for this. Okay, our journey decisioning agent has been around for a little while, and AI serves each customer the best campaign for them. Okay, based on the route that they've taken, based on their data, based on the KPIs that you set. And avoids you having to spend hours building mutually exclusive audiences, building those automations from hell, all those different things that we've talked about in the past. The key unlock here is, if we're honest, as we said, that previously our campaign optimization, our journey optimization, it's been a little bit naive in a clever way, in the sense that when it sees a new campaign, it doesn't really know what it is. Right? It's never tried it before. So as soon as it can try it out on customers, great, it's working out the box. But content intelligence now allows us to get that straight away. Okay? So we're fundamentally changing the way that our decisioning algorithms work so that they avoid this cold start problem and allows us to then get working from day one. Okay, so how do we get impact with these things? Now, we've seen some of these stats already. These are real numbers. We've seen average impact from our journey optimization agent. But this is the very start, okay? Because this is with the cold start problem. Okay, imagine a world where you have potentially more conflicts in a good way, okay? You've got more campaigns, more opportunities to make decisions about who sees what, and you've got more variations going on. But you don't have that cold start problem, okay? So the system knows. We've seen this kind of campaign before. We know whether John's going to like this, Joe's going to like that, etc. So we expect these numbers to improve. And that's really, really exciting. The impact that you can have and the scale that you can have with these things is quite incredible. So to do that, Shai talked you through the 4 different areas of optimization. And what we're doing with content decisioning is really adding a new plane of decisioning. A new focus on the last mile. Okay, so you've got your journey done, you've got your campaign optimization. Content decisioning is then how do you get this plethora of opportunities down into one single template? And the approach we're doing is trying to be as joined up as we can through Liquid here. So Liquid is the glue. Strange analogy, but Liquid is the way that you're going to define your variations. Now, I'll show you the initial version is using that directly in templates. We're going to put a more friendly UI on top of it, because as you can imagine, the more variations you have, it's going to get potentially complicated. But the great value of Liquid is you can now use that in any channel, any template, and you can define any variations that you want to. Okay. How that works then is based on real-time engagement signals. Okay, so it's not just a daily process. It's not just a daily optimization of what's happened in the past. It's truly real-time. So we'll move away from a world. I'm not going to show you it now, but within the campaign builder, you're not just going to say, I want to send this at 12 o'clock anymore. You say, I want to send this between 12 and 4, and we'll optimize the sends over that. So we can learn over that time. We can also learn because of the content intelligence, so we don't start from that cold start issue. But we can learn how that specific campaign is going. We can optimize the splits between the different groups. And based on those real-time engagement signals, we can make sure that we're getting true value. So over to the slides again. So, where were we? OK, so we are in a similar template to what we had before, but we've gone to the next level here. So we've got our personalization tags, as we have, obviously basic. I think we're all beyond the hi Rob type messaging, but it's a good start. Liquid gives you additional capability like defaults, looping, conditionals, all sorts of stuff out of the box that's really powerful and allows you to harness this additional information. Particularly powerful if you're using it with data connections. Okay, so now your data is not static at the point that the data is, the campaign is being created. We're potentially pulling in things from different APIs, different data sources, etc., allowing you to use that, iterate around it, and work on the best data that you have. Now, the nub of it here is in these vary statements. Okay, so if I can try and demystify it a little bit for you, when we have this CTA here, you'll see there are now 3 different options. Okay, so throughout this template, we have said there are going to be 3 different variations. Now, it depends what they actually are. It's completely up to you. It could be tone of voice. It could be urgency. It could be style. It could be the customer preference, whatever you choose. At the moment, and this is, we believe, an important simplification and some important way of doing it, is we're going to align those variations across the whole template. Okay, we are definitely heading to a world with multiplicative, multi-combinations of different things. But at the moment, it's going to blow your mind for one thing. But you also want to make sure that you've got that, that continuity through the text. So if you've got a particular subject line, you know that it's going to match up with the preview text, with the CTA, with the image, etc. So any piece of content that you want to optimize within an email, within an SMS, within a push, create this vary tag. And what it's going to do then is align these things. It's going to evaluate that based on the customer. And based on our real-time decisioning, it's going to decide who to send that to. So if I look at the preview here for a specific customer, you'll see in this case, deposit now. Now, this is truly random, so it could actually, in this case, there you go, bet now. I got lucky today. So in this case, we're getting a full consistent difference in subject line and so on and so forth. And this also works with any content. So imagery, content blocks, which is something we're bringing new to the system, which is different reusable areas of content. So massive capability to do that. Now, I'm not going to show you the detailed reporting and metrics behind that. You got a sneak peek of that in Shai's talk, because I'm going to look at it through the lens of the AI Decisioning Studio, which is also new. Okay, and here you can see the 4 different areas, of optimization. Now, the first one that we've touched on in this talk is the journey decisioning one. Okay, so this is our agent that is actually mapping and understanding what the different routes that people can take, and you can see in one place what the impact has been, so in a summary. And you can also look at opportunities for optimization. Really important within this, and this is really key actually for context and for this agentic world that we're building for, is introducing strategies. Okay, these are the strategies you probably have. You probably have them written down. They're your OKRs or whatever framework you choose to have within your company. And we're bringing them into the system. So this allows you to say, these are my key goals, whether it's churn reactivation, cross-sell, web to mobile, whatever it is. You can apply KPIs to those, and then you can group campaigns within them. So if I look at it within there, I've got specific campaigns that are targeted to that churn reactivation strategy, and I can immediately see what has been applied to those things. Okay, and in this case, this is where you could then go in, you could look at the details around content decisioning, test data, so anyone who's got very good eyesight, please look away. Content decisioning, you'll be able to see at a glance how that's performing, and then you can look for opportunities to improve that and understand where you can go from there. And just to show that in a simple way, you'll see which of those 4 areas are active. Okay, so where you have already applied these things, send time optimization, content decisioning, etc., where they're available. And you can click through and you can set these things up from this one place. Okay, so back to the slides. Right, so back to this operating model. We have talked through a number of different features. Okay, one of the reasons we did this was conceptually breaking the system down, trying to understand where we focus and how and where we build product features. So within creation, we've got duplicate with AI, okay? And prompt to template, it's kind of an evolution of that, okay? So duplicate, you start with an existing template. Prompt to template is where you're more free form. And even there, you know, all generative AI is really about recreating stuff that it's seen before and you know, potentially being creative in that recreation. So prompt to template will understand your brand guidelines and so on and so forth when it does that creation. In the assurance space, we've seen brand guidelines. We've seen content advisor. And we've talked a little bit about QA Center, so how we take that to the next level. Within the decisioning space, we've got the journey optimization now infused with content. Okay, so building that context across the whole decisioning plane. And content variations, that is then optimizing that last mile, making sure you get the perfect one-to-one record at the end of it. And within context, amongst other things, content intelligence, that template tagging, breaking down these complex things, extracting structure from them, and understanding, that underpins all of those three things. So, in summary, content is becoming cheaper, but that just changes the challenge. Okay, and we've all got this sense of FOMO, right? You could be doing so much more, why are you not doing it? Well, it's hard, right? It's a challenge. We're bringing the tools together to help you in that space. So what we're aiming to do is using Optimove AI through all those different decisioning spaces, through that operating wheel, to try and unblock and unlock personalization at scale. So, some other sessions you may be interested in. We have got a whole bunch of stuff. Obviously, it's a big theme, AI, throughout the thing, content personalization, etc. So on the main stage today, we've got acting in the moment, executing in real time. We have got email that performs. This is a session that I was talking about with Iggy, so you'll learn a lot about liquid, data connections, etc. within that. Bear in mind, it's all cross-channel, but not the focus of that session. And then AI decisioning from audience to last mile experience tomorrow in the breakout hall. So thank you very much for your time. Please rate the session on the app. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to come and find me, ask at the booths. We're all around to help you.